All right, everyone, get ready because today we're diving deep into cybersecurity in 2025. And let me tell you, it's going to be a wild ride. We've got some seriously interesting source material this time. A Spanish language radio interview with some experts from Akamai. You know them, the cybersecurity giants. They had some pretty intense predictions about what the future holds, like AI going rogue, threats evolving faster than ever, and a whole new generation of cyber criminals. Are you intrigued yet?
It's like we're stepping into a sci-fi thriller, except this is real life. The Akamai experts talked about three main things that are shaping the future of cybersecurity.
Lay it on me, I'm all ears.
First up, the threats themselves are changing so fast it's alarming. We're not just talking about the average hacker anymore. These attacks are more complex, harder to spot, and they happen lightning fast. They described one ransomware attack that went from exploit to total system lockdown in just 11 days.
11 days. Are you serious? That's insane. What kind of vulnerabilities did they exploit? Was it something we've seen before or something totally new?
It sounds like they used a combination of subtle network misconfigurations and software vulnerabilities. The scary thing is, this kind of attack is becoming more and more common. These attackers are constantly innovating, finding new ways to use seemingly small weaknesses.
Okay, so the threats are getting more advanced and faster. What's the second force we need to be worried about?
The rise of AI, both as a helpful tool and a dangerous weapon. AI is helping security professionals get ahead of the curve, but it's also being used by the bad guys.
Wait a minute. Didn't they mention AI chatbots that sound exactly like real people? That's like something straight out of Black Mirror.
It's not science fiction anymore. These AI-powered chatbots are so good that they can trick even the most tech-savvy people.
Yeah.
Imagine getting a call from what you think is your bank and then later realizing it was an AI scammer trying to steal your info.
That's terrifying. So it's not just about protecting our computers and networks. It's about protecting ourselves from being manipulated by these incredibly sophisticated AI scams.
Exactly. And then you have deepfakes, those AI-generated videos and audio that can make anyone seem like they're saying or doing anything. This technology has the potential to spread false information and destroy trust on a massive scale.
So we're basically moving into a world where we can't even trust what we see and hear. That's pretty unsettling. Okay, what about the third force? What are these new threat agents they were talking about?
This goes beyond your typical cybercriminals. We're now seeing a whole new kind of bad actor who uses AI specifically to cause harm.
Wait, are we talking about AI that actually writes its own malicious code?
That's part of it. They highlighted the emergence of SLM small language models, which are easier to access and more specialized than the large language models like ChatGPT that everyone's been talking about. These SLMs can be used to imagine attacks, basically predicting and exploiting vulnerabilities before anyone even knows they exist.
So while everyone's focused on these big, impressive AI models, the real danger might come from these smaller, more specialized AI programs that are hiding in plain sight. That's a pretty disturbing thought. How can we even defend ourselves against something that can figure out our weaknesses before we do?
It's a tough challenge for sure. The experts at Akamai said they're actually using their own SLMs to simulate attacks on their customers' systems. They're basically using AI to fight AI, trying to find those vulnerabilities before the bad guys do.
That's actually pretty clever, using AI to proactively strengthen our defenses. But it also brings up some serious ethical questions. Where do we draw the line with this technology? It seems like a double-edged sword.
It definitely is. AI is a powerful tool that can be used for good or for bad. The key is to develop and use this technology responsibly and ethically, with safeguards in place to prevent it from being misused.
So we've got evolving threats, AI weaponization, and a new breed of cybervillains who use AI to exploit weaknesses we didn't even know we had. That's a lot to process. Is there any good news here? What can we actually do to fight back against all these cyber threats?
Well, the Akamai experts highlighted some important strategies, and it all boils down to changing our mindset. It's not enough to just build bigger and stronger walls anymore. We need to understand how the attackers think and act in ways that make us less predictable targets.
Okay, you've got my attention. Tell me more. So we need to change how we think about cybersecurity. Ditch the old build a bigger wall idea, and replace it with what exactly?
One important strategy they talked about is behavioral analysis. It's about going beyond those static rules and signatures and focusing on finding things that deviate from normal behavior patterns.
So instead of trying to block every single attack, we're looking for anomalies, those little red flags that might mean something shady is going on.
Exactly. It's like learning how someone types their password on their phone. The speed, the rhythm, the pressure they use, all those tiny behavioral differences can be used to create a unique biometric profile.
So if someone steals my phone and tries to log into my bank app, even if they have my password, the system might think their typing is suspicious.
That's the idea. It's about adding an extra layer of security by looking at those subtle behavioral cues that are hard to fake.
That's really interesting. So we're using AI to analyze human behavior to protect against AI-powered attacks. It's like a digital game of chess. But how is this actually being used in real-world security systems?
Companies are using behavioral biometrics to verify users, spot fraudulent transactions, and even identify insider threats. They're analyzing everything from how you type to how you move your mouse to your browsing patterns.
That sounds a little bit like a privacy nightmare. Are we basically being constantly watched?
It's a valid concern, and there are definitely ethical issues around data collection and privacy. The key is transparency and user consent. People need to know what data is being collected, how it's being used, and have the option to say no if they want to.
That makes sense. It's all about finding that balance between security and privacy. The Akamai experts also talked about microsegmentation as an important security measure. Can you explain what that is and how it helps protect against these super sophisticated attacks?
Imagine your network as a city. In the past, we built walls around the whole city to keep attackers out. But now with cloud computing and complex network structures, that approach just doesn't cut it anymore.
So instead of one giant wall, we're building smaller walls within the city to create secure zones or compartments.
Exactly. Microsegmentation lets you isolate important applications and data. So if there is a breach, the damage is limited. It's like having firewalls inside of firewalls, creating multiple layers of protection.
Okay. I'm starting to see how this would make it much harder for attackers to move around inside a network and cause widespread damage. Do you have an example of this in action?
Sure. Imagine a company that stores sensitive customer data in the cloud. They could use microsegmentation to separate that data from other parts of their network. Even if an attacker gets past their main defenses, they still wouldn't be able to access the customer data because it's locked down in its own secure compartment.
That's a great example. It's all about minimizing the damage even if an attack is successful. It's damage control, but at a much more detailed level. Speaking of managing complex security issues, the interview also touched on the changing role of the CISO, the Chief Information Security Officer. It sounds like their job is getting a lot harder.
It's not just about being a tech whiz anymore. CISOs now need to be strategic advisors, business leaders, and even diplomats.
Wait, diplomats? What do you mean by that?
They have to be able to bridge the gap between the tech world and the business world, translating complex cybersecurity concepts into language that everyone can understand. They need to build consensus, manage expectations, and communicate effectively with people at all levels.
So they basically need a PhD in cybersecurity, an MBA, and a black belt in diplomacy. But seriously, why is this happening now?
Because the stakes are higher than ever. Cybersecurity isn't just an IT issue anymore. It's a business risk that can damage a company's reputation, financial stability, and even its survival.
So CISOs are now on the front lines of protecting not just data, but the entire business. No pressure, right? They also mentioned that compliance is becoming a big deal.
Absolutely. The rules and regulations are changing rapidly, and CISOs are responsible for making sure their organizations follow all these cybersecurity laws. This adds a whole new level of difficulty to their role.
So it's not just about preventing attacks, it's also about navigating a complex web of legal requirements and proving to regulators that they're compliant. That's a lot to handle.
It is. But it's also an exciting time to be a CSO. They have the chance to shape the future of cybersecurity, to be the architects of a more secure and resilient digital world.
That's a great way to look at it. It's not just about putting out fires anymore. It's about building something better, something stronger. But with all this talk about technology and strategy, it's easy to forget that cybersecurity is ultimately about people. The Akamai experts seem to emphasize that point too.
They really stress that even with all the advances in AI and automation, human expertise is still essential.
You know, they shared a great story about a company that lost its entire phone system. The Akamai security contact simply suggested they use their personal cell phones as a temporary fix. It was a low-tech solution to a high-tech problem, and it worked.
Exactly. Sometimes the most effective solutions are the simplest ones. And it often takes human insight, creativity, and a bit of out-of-the-box thinking to come up with those solutions.
It's a good reminder that technology is just a tool, and it's the people using that tool who really make a difference. And that brings us to another important aspect of cybersecurity that the Akamai experts highlighted, building a strong security culture within organizations.
It's not just about having the right technology. It's about creating an environment where everyone understands the importance of cybersecurity and take steps to protect themselves and the organization.
So it's about moving from a reactive approach where we only deal with security problems after something bad happens to a proactive approach where we're constantly thinking about security and making it a part of everything we do.
Exactly. They talked about creating a culture of awareness where everyone is empowered to spot threats, report anything suspicious, and follow best practices. It's about making security everyone's responsibility, not just the IT department's job.
They also emphasize the importance of training and education. It's not enough to just have rules. People need to understand those rules and know how to apply them in real-life situations.
Absolutely. Regular security awareness training should be a fundamental part of any cybersecurity program. It's about giving people the knowledge and skills they need to make good decisions and stay ahead of the constantly changing threat landscape.
It sounds like building a strong security culture is all about creating an environment of continuous learning and shared responsibility. Everyone has a part to play in keeping the organization secure.
Exactly. And the CISO plays a crucial role in promoting this culture and leading by example. They need to set the tone, communicate how important security is, and empower everyone in the organization to be part of the solution.
This is all really interesting. I'm starting to understand how all these different pieces fit together. But the world of cybersecurity is so big and complicated that it can feel a little overwhelming. Is there any hope for us regular folks? What can we do to protect ourselves in this cyber Wild West?
The good news is you don't need to be a cybersecurity expert to stay safe online. There are some simple but effective things you can do to protect yourself.
Okay, I'm listening. Tell me how to stay safe in this increasingly dangerous digital world. All right, give me the rundown. What are the essentials to protect our digital lives?
It all starts with awareness, really. You got to be careful about the info you share online and be wary of anything that seems off, like unsolicited requests. Those phishing emails and bad links can be super tricky, often looking like they're from legit places.
So no clicking on "you want a free cruise" without a second thought.
Exactly. Before you click anything, hover over those links to see the real URL. And be skeptical of any email asking for personal info or logins. When in doubt, go straight to the source through their official website or phone number.
Like they say, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Absolutely. And speaking of too good to be true, let's talk passwords. Strong, unique passwords for every single account are a must-do. I get it, it's a pain remembering all those crazy combinations, but hey, it's worth it to protect your data.
All right, so password 123 is out. What about those password manager apps? Are those a good move?
Password managers can be super helpful for creating and storing strong passwords. Just be sure to pick a well-known one with top-notch security.
Got it. What else can we do to level up our security?
Turn on multi-factor authentication whenever you can. It's like an extra shield requiring you to prove it's you using another device or method, like a code from your phone or a fingerprint scan.
So even if someone snags my password, they'd still need my phone or fingerprint to get in.
You got it. It's a simple step that makes a huge difference. And while we're talking easy things, let's not forget software updates. I know they can feel annoying, but keeping your software patched and up to date is vital to protect against those known vulnerabilities.
Okay, confession time. I sometimes ignore those update notifications.
Yep.
But you're saying they actually have important security fixes.
You bet. Think of it like a flu shot for your computer. Updates protect you from known viruses and malware.
All right, you've convinced me. From now on, I'm updating everything like it's a religion. Any other words of wisdom?
Watch out for social engineering. Scammers love to trick people into giving up sensitive info or doing things that put their security at risk.
Like those emails pretending to be from your bank or calls from fake tech support?
Bingo. Remember, real organizations will never ask for your personal details or passwords through email or over the phone. If something seems fishy, hang up and contact them directly through their official channels.
So basically, be cautious, question everything, and double-check before doing anything.
You got it. And if you spot anything suspicious, report it. Whether it's a phishing email, a shady link, or a potential scam, reporting helps protect everyone else from falling victim.
This has been a real eye-opener, this deep dive into cybersecurity. I gotta say, it can feel kind of overwhelming sometimes.
It's a complex world out there, and it's always changing. But the good news is we all have the power to protect ourselves. Stay informed, be aware of the risks, and take those simple steps we talked about, and you'll drastically reduce your chances of becoming a target.
So it's not about becoming a cybersecurity pro overnight. It's about building good digital habits and staying alert.
Exactly. Cybersecurity is a journey, not a finish line. It's about learning, adapting, and making smart choices, in our tech-driven world.
Well said. This deep dive has definitely given me a lot to think about, and I bet our listeners are feeling the same. Thanks for sharing your knowledge and insights with us.
Happy to do it. Remember, knowledge is power. The more you know about the threats and how attackers work, the better you'll be at protecting yourself and staying safe in the digital world.
And on that note, a big thanks to you, our listeners, for joining us on this deep dive into the future of cybersecurity. We hope you found it informative and empowering.
Remember, cybersecurity is everyone's responsibility. Stay curious, stay informed, and stay safe out there.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.